Sit tight. I'm going live. I need to turn up what? I need to
I
turn up
can hear you.
what?
I
Okay.
can hear you. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. We going live. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. We going live. There we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Say without a shadow of a doubt, it's the hottest show in social media history. I want to welcome you to the relocked and reloaded, the war zone, where you ain't finna get nothing but the truth. Say, man, I got my brand new co-host, Carlos Anderson. Say, wave to the people, Carlos. And I am the 5-star general. It's time to get into it, baby. Y'all know the rules of engagement. I got to get my people lined up. And here we go. Say, man, I want to welcome you to the war zone. We give it to you raw, uncut, no filter, and we keep it 100 at all times. We done relocked and reloaded. I got my new co-host, very, very opinionated young lady, Carlos Anderson, on the show with me. Now, one thing I want to let you know is that we're not gonna bring a guest on every night because we don't need to. We're not trying to just dabble in politics and make politicians look good. We deal with real issues. You feel what I'm saying? So we're not doing a show to make politicians look good. Let's get that straight. We're not doing that. We keeping it 100. So I want to say hello, Carlos.
Hi.
Won't you tell the people a little bit about you so they can get to know you real quick? Because she's simple, but she gonna tell you what it is.
I don't know what's there to know. I'm a everyday mom like everybody else. I have 7 children. Um, I've learned to work with law because it's a passion. Things have happened in life where I believe that sometimes we have to be the voice for ourselves because attorneys are not always the answer. And I believe that we should advocate for our own.
I tell you
That's
what.
pretty much it.
I tell you what. So let's get into this thing. All right. Let's get into this thing. I have something that's and I want to ask you a question as well as everybody else, and y'all can send some questions to me and Carlos, and then it'll go from there. Why is it that the black community has a problem with holding black elected officials accountable? Why is it so easy for us to sell out to black elected officials in the black community that suffers every day? Can you give me some insight on that, baby?
I think a lot of people sell out to money. I mean, once most people get into politics, it's all tied to money and greed, pretty much. Whoever can get the most, whoever can. Um, what do I want to say? Um, I believe it's like a collective. It's
Let
like
me
with the whole marijuana system.
let me let me
It's
let me
them
help
to
you.
help themselves instead of helping other people.
Let me
And
help you. Let me help you with something real quick. I know this your first time. You speak from the heart. You say whatever you gotta say. We don't have to sugarcoat it for nobody. You got the flow.
I mean, politics are pretty much it's all about money, and it's they look after their own, like the mob, like the police, like any other organization. And people don't hold them accountable because whoever you go to hold them accountable, their hand is in a jar too. So how can you go to somebody and say pretty much anything and you feel that they will hold them accountable because they're not? Nobody in today's society, no one is held accountable. Period. There's no accountability.
But let's say that you're a regular person,
Hmm.
you're a regular citizen. Why is it that we continue to give these same politicians a pass? Now, if it's about money, right, and they ain't giving them no money, then why is it that the regular guy that's over the home association or the super neighborhoods finds it so easy to sell out for money, especially in the African American community?
How do I say? Politics are
Politics.
po- politics are. Um, I mean, I've never really been too much into politics, and people will probably get mad because I don't vote, and I don't vote because I feel like this. They say every vote counts, but look at the corruption in voting. You know, early ballots, they get removed, they disappear, they're never counted. Um, you know, they play um I guess I would say ring around the rosy with seats. They place people in strategic places to get access to what they want and what they need. And like I said, nobody that I have ever seen go into office um ever gets held accountable. I mean, even if they go to the courts, who holds them accountable? Because you have people everywhere.
I'm gonna tell you
So
something.
actually, how can you hold somebody accountable when the people that we would expect to step up and say, "Hey, you know, this isn't what you're deemed to do under law," and but they don't hold them up to it. They sweep it up under the rug.
Okay, well, Alana says, okay, we're not going to start with the no voting rhetoric. Let me explain something to you. Black people, for example, had to go to the voting polls in the old days. They had to say their ABCs backwards. They either had to name all the counties in the states that they lived in. And God forbid if they went to the wrong voting poll, they got the hell beat out of them.
Right.
We make it through, the 60s, early 70s. We put everything on the line with the politicians that are in office. They go into office and they don't do jack shit for us. Now, when you ask them what they've done, they'll run off a long list of things that they've done. But then when you sit in your community, you don't see any of these things that have actually been done. You feel what I'm saying? So those that don't understand why people don't vote, a lot of people feel like, why should I waste my time going to a voting poll when these people ain't gonna do nothing for me anyway? Now I
Absolutely.
understand that some people want Joe Biden for president, right? They won't vote Joe Biden for president. But if you're an African American, how could you realistically vote for somebody that helped create mass incarceration?
Absolutely.
Now, when I say that, if you don't mind, because you have a hell of a story. Your son is locked up in California. I think you told me 7 years. Am I correct?
My son was sentenced to 27 years to life.
27 years to life on a bullshit charge. And, the thing is, he's wrongfully convicted. He's sitting up in this jail for the last 7 years. And one of the people that everybody got down to Kamala Harris when she was in the game. And everybody wanted to jump on the Kamala train. But you, as a mom who has a child that's locked up wrongfully for 7 years with 27 to life, now you have to make a decision on who should be the next president. So you can either vote for the crazy man, or you can actually vote for the guy that helped create the bill that has your child wrongfully convicted right now and has him incarcerated. So here's a tough question, because you know I ask him, who you voting for?
Nobody.
So y'all out there that say we need to vote, who should she vote for? Because if she doesn't vote for Trump, she should vote for Joe Biden, who helped create legislation and law that has her son locked up in jail right now for the last 7 years. So you guys explain to me, who should she vote for? Who should she vote for? You see what I'm saying?
And it's funny to me because people always, have uh nobody's going for the voting rhetoric. But see, when it ain't happened to you, then you can say whatever you want to say. Look at all the people that voted Trump in, and all that he was gonna do, and all this and that, and look where he got y'all asses. Look where he got the world right now. First, it was the what was that? Where they had, all the government people shut down, no pay, and then you want them to go into work and not a furlough, and then you want them to go into work for free. Who the hell want to work for free? Shouldn't you already working for pennies?
So let me ask you a question. If you want the government workers to go in to work for free, Trump was still getting paid, and he's a government worker.
Absolutely. And so was the rest of these people that was in this cycle.
So those out there that don't understand, Alana asked again, if you don't vote, what happens? Honestly, federal government shit does not bother me. It does not affect me on a daily basis. Honestly, I don't give a damn. But I tell you what I can do. I can go to the voting polls and write somebody in. I can write somebody in. I don't have to vote for Joe Biden. Too many of my partners locked up. You got caught with 2 pieces of crack rock, and them people gave you 300 years.
Right.
Because of the legislation that he wanted, he was a part of. So you people explain this to me. That why is it that we can't get, this restorative justice and all this stuff that's going on? The black elected officials on the federal level, you feel what I'm saying? You got the stimulus, you got to have a second part to the stimulus that's going to come out, right? What are the black elected officials doing to try to solve some of these issues? But we're supposed to support them. We're supposed to keep supporting idiocy. You can go and vote for Joe Biden. Anybody that chooses to can. But when I leave and I'm driving down I-45 and I'm passing Huntsville, I'm thinking about Joe Biden. I'm thinking about all the brothers standing on the other side of them gates, mass incarceration, living in modern day slavery, and I'm trying to figure out, why do I need to vote for this man? And all of this stuff that tends to happen, all of this stuff, where Biden is going to do this, or Bernie's going to do this. The thing is, and I want you to elaborate on that. Why is it that they make all these goddamn promises, but then when they get in office, they don't do none of the shit they say they're going to do?
Because that's their job. That's what they down to do. They give you what you want to hear in order for you to put them in a place. Then once you go out and, like y'all say, vote, then they turn around and they do what they want to do because all they want is the position. How many people, and honestly, how many people and presidents and congressmen and mayors and all that stuff have gotten elected in, and how many of them have you ever seen do what they say they was gonna do? None. That goes for the district attorneys too. I don't know no district attorneys, none that prosecute police officers, lawyers, judges, none of that, and they know that that system is very corrupt.
So it has to be basically to the extreme for a DA to prosecute a police officer.
I
Because
mean,
if they
look,
just
I'm gonna tell you why they got prosecuted in LA for Rodney King, because they tore that damn city up.
oh,
Even before, when they saw how he got beat and stuff, we don't sit back like that. And then after they cut him loose, oh, they was found not guilty or whatever. People are still gonna get their due diligence. But
so
at the end of the day, when you sit up and you do what's deemed wrong, it's gonna come back and get you one way or the other, whether the DA come and get you or whether it's a parent like me. Because yes, my son is incarcerated. He has 27 years to life, but I bet you I won't leave him there.
okay, well let me jump in here with you. Alana says, and I'm gonna pick on you, Alana. Instead of saying I'm not gonna vote because they don't do anything, how about you say I'm voting and I will hold who I am voting for accountable? So let me ask you a question.
But wait a minute, hold on, because let me say this, Alana. Because all the people that we vote in office, how in the hell do you hold them accountable when you go to the people that are supposed to hold them accountable, and they turn a blind eye and a deaf ear? So please don't come at me talking about we need to hold them accountable. It's a whole bunch of motherfuckers that need to be held accountable, but who holds them to the standard? We can only say so much. But the people that are supposed to hold them accountable, they don't do a goddamn thing. So you can't tell me about shit of waters that I tread on. Because the DA that took my son away from me, I'm right now in the process of holding his ass accountable.
Let me say this here. Without fight, without clearly understanding that the only way that we ever got anything as an African American people is we either had to fight for it or we had to die for it. We had to fight for it or we had to die for it. Now, what we do is we vote in these officials on the local levels. We vote them in on the state level. And then we vote for our senators and congresspeople. These are the people that are supposed to go up there and hold this crazy man on Pennsylvania Avenue accountable. Am I correct? So why is it that we're not getting that? Let me tell you why we ain't getting it. Because you're being played. Because you're being played. And what we have to do is right now, this is what the Black America would tell you to do, the bulk of you. We have to vote for Joe Biden. Gary Monroe not voting for him. It would take for hell to freeze over for me to vote for him. Now, would I vote for Trump? No. No. But I can go in and I can write somebody in. I can write somebody in, and that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. You're holding the hand of these people who, at the end of the day, have failed you. And you're saying this. I expect for this white guy to take care of us black people. The same white guy that did some things to you that should not have been done. Now, what I'm saying, I'm not talking about white people. I'm talking about this white guy. I can't cast my vote for him. I can't cast my vote for him. It's not going to happen. And if you don't understand that I have a bone up my behind about voting for somebody that was down with mass incarceration, then I don't expect you to understand. See, when your son is locked away for 27 to life on a bullshit crime bill, then how are you supposed to feel about that? And then everybody who ain't went through jack shit will tell you how you supposed to feel and how you supposed to vote. See, it's easy for you to tell people how they need to vote, when in all actuality, the last few voting processes have not affected you. It's easy to tell me how to eat. This is how you lose weight. Have you ever been fat? You don't understand that fat run in my family? It's a hereditary thing. So you really can't tell somebody how to feel and how to do something unless you've been through it. So I'm gonna say this here. So especially for people that's listening, I don't believe that single people should give married people advice. I don't believe you should. Because if you ain't been in a marriage, you don't know what the hell went on. You don't know what the hell goes on in a marriage. You feel what I'm saying? So if you have not lived in Compton, California, if you've not lived in the slums of New Orleans, Louisiana, if you've not lived in Detroit, Michigan, where government was so corrupt, everybody went to jail, then how can you tell people what they need to do? How can you tell people?
I have a question for the people.
Talk
What
to
has
them.
voting gotten us?
Yeah, and you know what? That's a hell of a question. She said, "What has voting got us?"
If you can tell me what voting has got us,
Then
even with
you,
our forefathers, because
and
they
then you,
got killed for us to vote. But even when they voted, it still didn't make a change.
you know, I see people posting stuff from the Constitution, the Texas Constitution. Let me tell you something about that Constitution. Was it written before or after we were slaves? I feel
Before,
like I feel like a document that is as valuable as the Constitution, that was written while we were slaves. Don't you think it needs to be amended?
absolutely,
Because the 13th Amendment of the United States says, on this day in America, right now, that slavery will exist in the form of incarceration.
absolutely.
So don't
Ha-
quote me.
Half the people ain't even never read the Constitution, nor do they understand it.
It wasn't written for us.
Absolutely, that was my point.
It was not written. We are under laws that were not written for us.
Hmm.
And Demetrius said it was ratified in 1863 to include all of us. So you're the historian, Demetrius. So why is it in 1863, if it was ratified, in 1963, black people couldn't use the same bathrooms as white people?
Right.
It wasn't written for us. But we try to justify that we believe because it's been ratified or something like that. It includes all of us. No, even when it was ratified,
It wasn't for us.
we wasn't even considered whole people. It wasn't written for us except that. And the reason government does not work right till this day is because we're still under laws that were written when we were slaves.
I have a question. So since she made that statement, um, When did we go from property to people?
So I'll answer that. If the laws pertain to us, then why is it every 25 years they have to go vote to reaffirm our right to vote?
Mm-hmm.
Can somebody tell me that? If the laws were written for us, then why is it that when the poor black man walks into the courtroom for stealing a candy bar, he can get 100 years, but the white guy get to go home?
Oh, it was a dude that stole a slice of pizza. He got a third strike in the state of California. So they gave him life because he was home.
See, the thing is we really believe that the way the laws are written, that they include us. So that's where I go back to the political aspect of it. So the laws that we're governed by, Alana, and I get it with you, until they change and they're written the right way, those laws don't mean jack shit. Nothing. We around here worrying about the pandemic. Did y'all see what the Supreme Court passed? The motherfucking people can stop you right now. They ain't gotta have no reason. Oh, you didn't know they did that last week. So when it was ratified in 1863, black people should have stood up, huh? In 1863, you'd have got hung from a tree. I understand the new breed of black people, and some of us are revolutionaries. But in order to be a revolutionary, you got to be willing to die. In order to be a revolutionary, you got to be willing to go to jail. In order to be a revolutionary, you got to stand on them 10 toes, man. You got to stand on them 10 toes.
Hell, black people can't even stand together. They like a bunch of crabs in a barrel. As soon as one go up over the top, somebody pulling on a leg to pull them back down. So
Listen
when
to me.
black people learn how to stand together like they used to do, then maybe we could talk. But in today's society, no,
Okay.
it's every man for themselves.
LJ De Leon said, no, we were not in mind when the Constitution was written, but we are going to continue to let Trump divide the country. Let me tell you
The
something.
country was already divided. What do you mean?
Hold on. Let me speak on it because I'm about to say what you finna say. You can't put something together that was already divided. You really think Trump divided this country? No, what Trump came through the door and did was expose some people for who they were really worth. Trump let you see that if I don't do nothing from the federal level and they getting all this money, let's see what they actually doing with the money. Because I ain't gonna give them nothing. And now that Trump don't give you nothing, you still won't hold your black elected officials accountable. Trump ain't divided no country. This country been divided. You don't understand what segregation is. Do you have a magnet school in your school district? Do you have school choice in your school district? Well, do you know that when there was a court case, Mendez versus Ecuador County, this was the court case that, what's the thing I'm looking for? I done lost my chain of thought. My man with the, they did the education thing back in the day. Help me out here. I lost my chain of thought.
I don't know who that is.
Well, where it said all of us will get an equal education. Who was that? I lost my chain of thought.
I don't know.
Y'all help me out on here. Y'all help me out. Come on, help me out. I need to say this here. Um, I need to say this here. I mean, not Booker T. Washington. Brown versus the Board of Education. What was my man that did Brown versus the Board of Education? Y'all help me out. Y'all help me out. Brown versus the Board of Education. I want to see if my viewers remember this, because you probably don't. Not Rod Page. No, no, no. Well, who did who did Brown versus the Board of Education? Y'all help me out real quick. And I can't remember his name. I know it. Wow. Thurgood Marshall. Before Thurgood Marshall did Brown versus the Board of Education, he watched a case in California called Mendez versus Ecuador County. So the first person on the books for discrimination in a school system was not African Americans. It was actually a Mexican family. It was Mexican kids. So Thurgood decides to file Brown versus the Board of Education. All right? Don't you know that when he won, them people were so mad in some of them southern states, and especially in the Carolinas, that they refused to allow their children to go to school for 5 years. No, they ain't going to school if they got to go to school with them. So guess what they did then? They had to figure out something, because they couldn't let their kids not get an education. So they created magnet schools and school choice. Did y'all just hear what I said? So the same thing that you use to say, I got a quality education, you don't understand that there's segregation right now in education. So we were not together. Because till this day, in order to get a quality education in the city of Houston, realistically, your kid gonna have to go to another school. He ain't gonna get it in Fifth Ward. He ain't gonna get it in Cadman Garden. But if he get on that bus every morning at 5 o'clock, they'll bus him over to another school. So segregation exists. Y'all so big on affordable housing, and y'all don't realize that the government created affordable housing. And tell me if I'm wrong, Carlos. Does affordable housing actually create new modern day ghettos?
To a certain extent.
Because they drive you out of your black-owned community. And like in Houston, oh, we're gonna do affordable housing, like that freeway coming through. All them projects are gonna be what they are. They're gonna put people out of their houses. Okay, well, the only place they're gonna try to build some new affordable housing is down there way out in Spring. So they're gonna push them out of their ghetto to another place that's supposed to be so good. But you can take the black man out the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out the black man. So
they tried to do the same thing in California.
So you push them over to another community, you create another ghetto. It just happens.
Or you create a lot of chaos, robberies, all kinds of stuff.
Chaos comes with all of that. So you wouldn't fix our neighborhoods up. You wouldn't fix the streets in our neighborhoods. You let the houses go to hell. You won't cut the grass that you're supposed to cut. But as soon as you move us out, you start doing everything that you wouldn't do for the black people. But yet you telling me we have to come together. Yeah, it's not hard for us to come together. And then I'm gonna talk about LA, because you know you're from California. But see, when you come together, they find a way to separate us. They find a way. Now, if the LA riots ain't show you but one thing, were you in LA when the riots popped off? Miss Carter? Were you in LA when the riots popped off?
I'm sorry?
Were you? Okay, so you were in LA when the riots popped off. If the riots didn't show you but one thing, that if black people come together, they can't handle us. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, that, I mean, it's in every aspect. Though. If we come together as a collective, people just don't even understand how much money power we have. If we stop spending money with these people that don't care for us and put back into our own community, like they did with the Black Wall Street. And I think about that all the time. How you push us out and put us where you thought we wouldn't succeed. And we came together and we actually created more income and more wealth than they did. And they got mad and look what they did. They burned down the whole city. So that ought to tell you something.
So let me ask you a
Not
question.
just in a negative, in a positive.
Let me
We
let
come
me ask,
together as a whole. If you could build a whole country with no education and have the patents that we have in this country belong to us,
keep
what
talking.
more could we not do if we came together as a whole? That's just common sense. But like I said, greed is such a part of, what we have today. Black people just can't come together. All right.
So here's the deal, and I'm back. Here's the deal. The LA riots, to me, the LA riots to me showed that if African Americans do come together, if they do come together, not even the National Guard can handle us. See, the only thing you saw with the riots was people going off, was people looting. That's what you saw with the LA riots. You know what I saw? I saw a frustrated African American community that had been beaten and brutalized for years. I saw an African American child, and you were in LA, so you tell me if I get this wrong, that went into the store to buy juice, and a Korean store owner shot her in the back of the head.
Yep. Natasha.
Now, this is what people don't realize. Rodney King had already happened. But when that happened to that child, that set it off right there. And here's a question. Could the National Guard handle those African Americans when they went off?
They could.
So here's my question. If you ain't willing to stand up and fight, or if you ain't willing to die, you can't affect change. Not on the African American standpoint. That
Nope.
is how you hold the whole system accountable. And how many days was LA shut down after the riots?
Months. It
So
was
let me,
almost. It was really. I'll say anywhere from 6 to 8 months.
so here's my thing. How many of y'all ready to fight? Don't understand what I'm saying. If you decide to fight, you might lose your job. If you decide to fight, you might lose everything that you got. But how many of y'all ready to fight? Well, hold on. I might have a bunch of fighters. Let me twist it. How many of y'all ready to die? I'm ready to die. Because you may not like the way that I do what I do, but I have a way of getting the job done. Because if you are an elected official, you're going to do your job. You're not just going to stand here and make millions of dollars while my community suffers. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. You feel what I'm saying? That's just not going to happen on my watch. It's not going to happen. So, my thing to you is quite simple. I don't need to bring an elected official on this show every night? For one reason. If you here on this show every night, what work you doing? I like regular people to come. I want regular people to come. I want to talk to the school teachers and the bus drivers who don't make enough money. See, these elected officials make their money. I want to talk to the regular stay-at-home mom. A lot of people don't give a lot of stay-at-home moms a lot of credit. Oh, they don't work. Yes, they do. You know how hard it is to take care of seven kids in the house as a single parent? But what we got to get off our behinds and understand is who's helping us or who's hurting us the most.
We are our own worst enemy.
Explain that.
Because it's like it's like, what do we stand up for? Like, people will say with me, oh, she has 7 kids. Oh, she, whatever the case may be. But just think like this: being a parent is still a job, even if you're a single parent. We still work, and it's something that Mary Courtney made me think about. She said, because you're a parent and you work, your job don't stop being a parent. Kids have issues at school, bullying, all kind of stuff. And we still have to go to work, and we still have to come home, and we still have to be a voice. Just because you have a lot of kids doesn't mean that you should beat yourself down or you've made mistakes. Yes, fix the problem, but you get up and you keep on moving. You still have to hold yourself accountable like you want to do anybody else. If you can't start with you, then, the problem is inevitable. You have to start with you. You have to have integrity. You have to have your word. Your word is your bond. And some people, all they name is all they have.
So, Alana, once again, you asked the question, what are you doing for criminal justice reform? I'm not doing a goddamn thing. So let me make sure I get that straight with you. You do it. I'm in education. And I can't do everything. I'm in education. And if I do my job in education and you do your job in criminal justice reform, we kill the school to prison pipeline.
But this is my thing too, and this is what I want people to understand. It takes more than one person to reform the justice system. Do you know how many years that goes back? And I'm gonna give y'all a prime example because this is something that bothers me. How they passed all these marijuana laws. It's okay for you to make money on marijuana, okay? But it's not okay for you to go back and fix the problem that you created. Now that you can come and be a millionaire off of the same substance that you've allowed people to be locked up for the rest of their life. And then it bothers me because you double dip. So now, oh, well, we need to go back and we need to fix the law or whatever. No, before you pass the law, all these people that you're making money off of sitting in these prisons, let them out.
See,
clean their records, allow them to get somewhere to live and get them a job, train them. Then move forward and pass the law so now you can make some money.
So Alana says, stop worrying about everybody else. Actually, I don't. And I can't speak for anybody else. I don't. So if criminal justice reform is your business and education reform is my business, and say Tara, she's creating a union for election workers. You feel what I'm saying? Most of this stuff we talking about is African American, centered, which has a population of a high African American population. Everybody's playing their position. But as soon as I question something about, justice reform, then what are you doing for it? Not a goddamn thing. That's your thing. But since you question me and it's your thing, what are you doing for it? Because justice reform is not just going to happen when you show up at the county courthouse, when you show up at the county courthouse with your bullshit ass protest. A protest would not no realistic end. You got to have some end results that you want. If you just out here protesting, then you don't get shit done. Now, if I'm right, I'm right. Okay, let's see. All these goddamn cop killings where they done killed these innocent black people. How many fucking protests y'all had? What the fuck have you got done?
Nothing.
Oh, we getting justice reform because you letting people out of jail on weed charges. What the fuck they got to do with cops killing black people? How you affecting that? If you ain't willing to fight, if you ain't willing to die, you ain't gonna get shit done.
And it can't be no justice reform anyway until they hold these officers and these people that sit in these positions accountable.
But you can't hold them accountable when you still have laws on the books from when we were not even considered men and women.
Exactly. My point exactly.
So if you want to get the system changed, if you care about black America so much, then get your ass out the suburbs and come back to the black community. If you living out there with them Republicans, why the fuck you keep running over here to our side of town to get our Democratic leaders to help you when you living out there with the Republicans? When you got a fucking issue, go to them. But the first thing you gonna say, oh, they don't want to help the black community.
Hell, blacks don't want to help the black community either.
James Gibbons said, have we protested black on black crime and tried holding ourselves accountable? Well, here's the thing. That is a hell of a question. And I will tell you that as far as me holding us accountable, that is the reason I created my group, One Houston, One Hood, because I go into them war zones and I talk to them youngsters and I make them put them guns down. I make them understand conflict resolution. Everything ain't a gunfight, homie. Some days we just need to have a conversation. Dude, and James, I want you to understand something. Imagine if we really knew each other and we didn't do it over your old lady. Well, hold on, Playboy. Why we out here finna kill each other over your old lady? See, that's the conversations. See, I'm gonna tell you something. I was asked today to go and speak to some guys in a facility. You feel what I'm saying? That be talking about, they getting ready to come home. You know, they getting ready to come home. And one guy was like, as soon as I get out, I'm gonna rob a bank. Okay, well, you're committing murder. Let me explain
You know
that
what?
to you. Let me explain that to you what I mean by that. If I asked you, Carlos, if you told me I was gonna rob a bank, right? I'm finna get out this place, but let's use your son for example. You in there, you going through the bullshit. They fighting to get you out. Man, as soon as I get out, I'm gonna rob a bank. So let me ask you, if I told you to take a razor, right, and cut from your wrist up to your elbow, would you do it?
I'm sure it definitely would not.
And you know why? Because you would bleed to death in 15 seconds. So this is how I get to the youngsters. So when you out there and you talking about what you gonna do when you get out, well, you commit murder because you're gonna die. So rather than wait to die, why don't you just go get that razor and cut your arm from your wrist to your elbow and bleed to death in 15 minutes? Or I wouldn't do that. Well, you really don't want to die. So why don't we just put a plan together for when you get out so that I can show you how to make the money that you want to make? Oh, well, I'm a convicted felon. Well, they may tell you you can't live here as a convicted felon. They may say, well, I'm not going to hire you here as a convicted felon. But money rule everything. I tell you what we're going to do, youngster. I'm going to show you how to start you a company that can make you some money. I'm going to show you how to start a company that can make you some money. Now, how much, the question now becomes, how much money you want to make? I got people sitting right here looking at me, can't tell me how much money they want to make. How much money you want to make?
My thing is this too, as far as being in prison. If they would do like other countries and actually retrain them, help them while they're in there, literally, they wouldn't come back with the same mindset. I sit up and I've been dealing with the prison system since I was 14 years old. So I know a lot about the prison system. But at the end of the day, they don't rehab, it's nothing. They learn more stuff to do wrong in the prisons and the jail, county jail, than they learn on the streets, which is sad.
Wow.
There's no type of training. And I've talked to hundreds of people in jail, men and women. I mean, some people get it on the first time. Some people get it.
So
Some people never get
what
it.
you're saying
And that's just where they end up.
so what you're basically saying is they incarcerate them, but they don't rehabilitate them.
Absolutely. They don't rehabilitate mainline people. They rehabilitate, and I put that in quotes, they rehabilitate the so-called molesters, the rapists, people that are in PC. They
So
get more
let's ask.
so-called rehabilitation, and they come out the worst. How do you rehabilitate a person that's addicted to children,
Okay,
child pornography? I
if
mean,
you will allow
they're
me, if
they're
you will
child
allow me to jump
pedophiles.
in,
How do you rehabilitate somebody that's been like that? That's not something that, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, and they've been doing this for 40 years. That's not gonna rehab it.
okay. So here's the thing I'm gonna ask you, and I'm asking the people out there as well as you. How do you rehabilitate a child rapist?
You can't. I don't believe that you can.
How
You
do
can
you?
castrate them. You can do all of that.
How
But
do
it
you?
starts up here. If you can't fix their mind,
People, people want to talk about justice reform, but they don't want to accept the fact that all they do is lock them up. So how do you rehabilitate a child rapist? Because if you don't rehabilitate them, you put them on vacation. And when they get out, that's all they know. So is
yep,
that person more prone to go back out and do what they need to do?
absolutely. Some of them fantasize about it before they even are ever released.
Alana, Alana, I'm tired of you texting. Give me your email address, please, ma'am. You can come on here. Come on here. You saying cognitive behavioral therapy for a motherfucker that screw kids? Come on, man. I know you in college, and I know you reading they books. Come on, man. Come on, man. We can't keep falling for the okie doke, man. So here's another thing.
Maybe she needs to go visit the prisons where they are. Then you could talk a good one when you ain't never walked into the building with them.
So let me ask you a
It,
question.
it, it, it sounds real good, but when you sitting there And you will know who it is before you even get there because see, your family will inform you.
So here's my question. You had 5 kids that went to jail wrongfully. You know, the Central Park Five.
Mm-hmm.
How do you rehabilitate Corey Wise? And then after they get out, you find out they should have never been in there. How
Right.
how do you rehabilitate that person?
Honestly, with all that Corey went through, solitary confinement is enough to kill a person. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he still suffers from PTSD because I'm sure that he's never going to heal from that.
Keep talking. I'm sending an email
And
real
the
quick.
only person that you could really talk to, and I'm sure that he can help a lot of people because of the struggle that he went through and he made it out. But I'm not sure that I could tell you that he will never um be a whole person. He may learn how to um reason or live with the situation that he's been through. He learns how to adapt because most people learn how to adapt to tragedy. And that was just some unreal foolishness. But guess what? People go through it all the time. And some don't make it out. Some die in the process. So his will had to be stronger than, the circumstances of what he went through.
Keep speaking for a second. I'm trying to send this email.
I don't know. I would love to speak to him though. I would love to find out, how he deals with that on a daily. Like what gets him through what he's always, what he's been through for all those years. And then for them to come back and say, we know that you really didn't do this. And for them to stick to their lie. Because that's what these people do. They'll stick to a lie. Because see, they don't want to be found out a liar. But I mean, we know that a lot of them are.
All right, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on a second. Uh, just a second. Okay. All right, y'all. I'm back. So I missed what you said. What did you just say?
I said, I don't know how they will rehabilitate him. I'm not even, I mean, I'm sure therapy will help, but nothing can ever help what he's gone through. People learn how to cope with tragedy different. That's
Alana, I sent you an email. If you want to come on real quick, come on. We can have this discussion. See, when you live this life and you're out here, right? And you deal with what we deal with every day, you're already dealing with trauma. We've been dealing with trauma as African Americans for 453 years. 453 years. We've been traumatized. And people don't understand that what we go through was by design. What we go through was by design. You feel what I'm saying? Y'all look at that. She say, Kanisha Drayden say, I was a CBT counselor for inmates in the system. It worked well for some. A lot of those inmates have antisocial behavior disorder, PTSD, and CPTSD and anxiety. Some of it is learned behavior.
Absolutely.
Some of it is you go into the prison system and come out worse than when you went in.
You sure do. And I know that to be true. Very true.
You go in the prison system and come out worse than when you went in. You end up smoking stuff in the prison system they ain't even got on the streets.
Mm.
But all of that ties back in from the question from the gate. How do you hold your elected officials accountable? I'm gonna leave you with this. How do you hold somebody accountable by prison when you figure out they own stock in private prisons?
Mm.
Ask your elected officials that. Madam Carlos, I think we're gonna enjoy your commentary. Y'all tell me how did Carlos do tonight? Her first show. We bring on the other co-host tomorrow, and the war zone gonna keep clicking, baby. We're gonna have some real serious discussions. We're gonna have some real serious discussions. You feel what I'm saying? Y'all tell me how did she do? Cause she a fireball, bruh. And when you can go in courtrooms and battle these people without a lawyer, she calls it pro per. And win, it's what it is, bruh. See, they won't allow me to represent you in court because I don't have a law degree. But they will allow you to represent yourself.
Most people won't go into court and defend themselves because they think the attorney can do a better job. And I can guarantee you that's not the case.
Well, we're going to close out this show, and I want you to give us your final thoughts.
All I can tell y'all is do what's best for you. You can't speak on another person's issue or reason why. I can speak for myself why I don't vote, you know, and why you think voting matters. I mean, I've looked at history and voting doesn't do well for us. You can go pitch a vote all day long, but it doesn't do well for us. And then we talk about accountability and prisons and all of that stuff. That's fine. You can't hold people. You can do your part to hold them accountable, but at the end of the day, if the laws that back us don't hold them accountable, then shame on them. But it's only so much we can do as a people. If your votes really don't matter, what is your accountability trying to hold somebody accountable when they're not holding their own people accountable? It's too many hands in the pot.
Okay, well, we did something a little different tonight, and we'll do this every night. If one of y'all bold enough to jump in, then I'm bringing in Alana. You got
I'm
the floor.
here. All
You
right,
got
so
the
we're
floor.
talking about are we talking about voting right now or the
You
prison?
talk about it, whatever you want. We're gonna have that discussion. Let's go with it.
All right, so I want to go back with the prisons. I'm very heavy on criminal justice reform, and you asked the question, how do you rehabilitate a sex offender? So statistics show that 27% of offenders who reoffend, sexual offenders who reoffend, are treated, and 32% are the untreated populations who reoffend. You can be rehabilitated. In actuality, the criminal courts do not the overall goal and courts in the, well, let me just say the prisons and the jails is not to rehabilitate the offender. That's only with juveniles, because when you become an adult, they don't think you can really be rehabilitated. Your mental state is already set. You already did what you did, so they don't think you can be rehabilitated. That's not their overall goal. Their overall goal is just to incarcerate you and separate you from the general population. So to separate you from everybody else, the bad guys over here, everybody else is over here. With juveniles, the overall goal is to rehabilitate them. So when I say it's important for you to vote and it's important for you to hold your elected officials accountable, nowadays elected officials are talking about restorative justice practices and criminal justice reform. And they see that just locking people up is not working. The United States has the highest incarceration rate in the world. It's not
Okay,
working.
hold on, because you're
Okay.
speaking of statistics, and
No, I'm not. No, I
no,
didn't
no,
say
I'm
statistics.
just saying, when you say that the United States has the highest what?
Incarceration rates.
So my question to you is, under what president did the number actually start going up?
Bill Clinton.
No, no, no. Keep going back.
Bill Clinton. Ronald
No,
Reagan.
No, Reagan.
it
Ronald
started
Reagan.
going up when Nixon passed the first crime bill.
Okay.
It goes all the way back to Richard Nixon. This is not an 8 or 10 or 15-year problem. This is a 60-year problem.
I understand that. It's a new form of Jim Crow. It's the new Jim Crow.
So you actually think that we got out of Jim Crow?
No, I said this is the new Jim Crow. This is the newly formed Jim Crow. They take us out of slavery. We fall into Jim Crow laws. Then we get into segregation. And they always find a way to try to keep us down, to try to keep us contained.
That's the 13th Amendment.
I'm sorry.
That's the 13th Amendment.
Incarceration is what they're using now to keep us confined. African American men, I shall say, are the majority in the prison population, but they're minority in the general population. So what does that mean?
And Hispanic.
Right, but it goes African Americans, then Hispanics. So I'm specifically talking about African Americans right now. If we're making up the majority in the prisons, we're being represented in the prisons, but we're not being represented in general population. That's a problem.
So let me ask you a question, because you made a statement that they rehabilitate juveniles.
Yes.
What state are you in?
I'm in Illinois. I said the goal is to rehabilitate juveniles. That's their goal that they put on paper. Is to rehabilitate the minor.
Okay, so
let me tell you this, because my sister is a probation officer. Okay, it has been for 24 years. She works with juveniles. My best friend is a probation officer. She was. Her husband is a probation officer for juveniles. I can guarantee you what they write on paper and what they do in those halls are two different things. Because the judge
I never said, because you got to listen when I'm talking, you got to listen. I said what they put on paper and what they say. The goal is to rehabilitate the minor. That's their goal. If you look it up right now on Google. They never say, because they believe that once you reach adult status, you cannot be rehabilitated. They don't believe you can be rehabilitated at that point. But as you're a child, you can be. They can do something. That's their goal.
But they're not. That's what
I know that. But that's where it comes into play. Are you holding your elected officials accountable?
Okay, so let me ask a question.
Okay.
Why do we have to go to jail to get the help that we need, so we need to be rehabilitated? Why don't they rehabilitate the school systems? If you did that, then they wouldn't have to deal with rehabilitation and incarceration.
And my question is, why are there probation officers in school campuses?
What?
What's your question, Carlos?
Why are there probation officers sitting in school campuses. See, when I grew up, we didn't have probation officers. We had parents. But
Okay.
I watch and I listen to my sister because she calls me every day. She's been doing it for 24 years. She tries to get the kids the help that they need. Okay? They write these big, elaborate, beautiful reports telling them what the children need and how they need to be rehabilitated and the help that they need. And the judge turns around and slaps their ass in the face. So why write a report telling them the help that they need when, like you said, the elected officials, these judges that sit in these courts, and they turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to what these probation officers are telling them how they need to be rehabilitated. So how do you hold them accountable?
First of all, raise your kids so they won't get there. Let's get that
No,
clear.
that's not always
Yeah,
the
Carlos,
case.
allow her to speak, Carlos.
that is that is you. I'm only saying this because you said when you were young, when you were a child, there were no probation officers. We live in a world where kids are adults nowadays. They do what they want to do. You got grown kids that are murderers right now. You know what I'm saying? I live in Chicago. I see it every day. 10-year-old murderers, 10-year-old serial killers. You see it every day. So what I'm saying is raise your kids, first of all. When they do fall into the system, first of all, the state of Texas is not progressive at all when it comes down to minors, when it comes down to the adult courts. That's why I say, when you have an elected official, your local elected official, do you ask your elected official, are you, especially a state rep, passing state legislation, are you doing anything for sentencing? Do you have any sentencing laws, restorative justice practice laws? Like, what are you doing to address this issue in our community? Because it seems like a lot of kids in our community have dropped out of the local schools, are in the streets, are going to these juvenile detention centers. Are you addressing those questions and concerns and holding your elected official accountable?
I think the first person is two entities that need to be held accountable. One, I'm gonna ask you a question because you the youngster on the thing.
Okay.
If they caught you with a pound of weed in school,
Okay.
what would they do to you?
They would, well, back in Texas, where I'm from, be clear, they would, they try not to lock you up, like take you to juvenile. They
Mm.
can at their own discretion. They will probably suspend you from school, or they will. I let me just go a little further. They're gonna send me to an alternative school.
Stop right there. I played on a state championship football team, and one day they caught us with a pound of weed in the backyard of Yates.
Okay.
They took us to the coach's office and he beat our fucking ass.
Okay.
But see, we don't want any discipline in the schools anymore.
Okay.
We don't want the kids to get powdered. We don't want to do this. From a parental perspective, kids that are running the house, a lot of them run the house because of the laws that are in place that say you can't put your hands on your kids.
Right.
You can't raise your kids. You can't do this, you can't do that. So the house is unstructured. There's no discipline in the house. Then you send them to a school that has no discipline in the school. You can't do them anything. You're gonna send them to alternative school. If our coaches hadn't to beat our ass that day, all of us would have ended up in the penitentiary later on. When you took the discipline and you took the prayer out the schoolhouse,
Yeah.
you crippled the educational component. And I'm gonna tell you why they took the discipline out the schools. It wasn't because kids were getting abused. You know why they took it out to school? Because these black teachers were starting to whoop them little white kids' asses. And all of a sudden it became a problem. See, black folk need discipline.
Right.
You're in Chicago with the minister. What did the minister say about your child? The minister say beat the hell out of him.
Fair comment.
That means he whooped his son ass. See, we don't want to discipline our children. We want to be
But
free.
it's not just us. Because see, Alana, when we grew up, like you say, be a parent See, when we grew up, it wasn't just the parents. Okay, so we had the neighbors, we had the aunties to the your parents, that all that. It took a village to raise us. And see, in today's society, children's services has a lot to say. Ask me how I know, because I beat a case against them for whooping my daughter's ass.
Let me tell you something.
Let me
If
add.
you did something, and let me show you something. When you're surrounded by people that care about you, you can escape the school to prison pipeline. I had an assistant principal named Mr. Moorhead. He was a track star. Because that motherfucker could run you down anywhere in the school. You thought you were going to run from him, but he could come get you. Well, I used to cut up every day, Alana. When I had nothing to do, I would set all the trash cans on fire in high school. That's what I would do. Well, one day I'm cutting up. They bring me to his office. And he say, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get sent home. He said, but I ain't sending you home. The man got on the walkie-talkie. Timmy Price, where are you? Timmy Price was the janitor. He called the janitor. He say, man, how many lawnmowers you got out there? He say, man, I got 3. He say, take Monroe and put him on a lawnmower. Go cut that goddamn grass because you ain't going home. And last year, we have a Hall of Fame at Yates. And I had the honor of inducting that man into the Hall of Fame. Because if it wasn't for his discipline, his tough love on me, I would have never made it. See, we can get past all this. Oh, he got ADHD. Whoop his ass. I'll be damned if you a child, ADHD or not. You ain't finna cuss me out, motherfucker. I'll break your jaw. But I'm just saying, there are things that are in place, and these people want you to believe that this is how you have to do it. No, what works for the white child may not work for the black child. I'm sorry, but it just may not. You got more help for mental issues, psychological issues in alternative school than you have in the regular public school.
Right.
So why does a kid have to go to alternative school to get the help that they actually need? Because you send them to alternative school because you're getting ready to school to prison pipeline them.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's why alternative schools were made. You know what I told Superintendent Dr. Granita Lathan in HISD? You need to get rid of alternative school and in-school suspension.
Right.
You need to create in-school mentoring.
Right.
You don't need to sit him in a classroom with nobody in there. You bring his lunch to him and he do his work. You need to be communicating with him. You need to find out what make him tick. Say, man, why did you cuss that teacher out? Did you ever think that a lot of these kids feel that they grown? That's why they cuss them teachers out?
Right.
Okay, but did you ever think that a lot of them kids go home to empty houses and take care of themselves? And they have to make their own money? And you become a man and a woman when you can financially take care of yourself, and they actually do. So they're not gonna stand there and let people handle them any kind of way.
But that's what I'm saying, Mr. Monroe, when I say parents take care of your children. I see it every day out here. I didn't really see it that much in Houston, but I see kids all the time because they don't have public school transportation here, so they have to take the city bus. I see kids under 10, under 15 taking themselves to and from school, walking these crazy streets on the south side of Chicago.
I can only imagine.
Stomachs touching their back. And you wonder why they're out here creating these crimes and doing what they're doing. They're their own. They take care of themselves. They're they're head of the whole household.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Okay.
Money could fix a lot of the problems that we have in the United States of America. Do you agree?
I agree.
So why in the fuck is it so easy to come up with money for a stimulus but not fix the fucking problems we have?
I'm going to say this. First of all, we all know they don't want to see Black people succeed. You can slice and cut it whatever way you want to. They don't want to see us succeed. They want us. We have to fight for everything. We've always had to fight for everything we have. So when the majority is focused on running to the beauty supply store, focusing on a stimulus check, you have few people like myself and you, Miss Corliss, and other people who are talking about these real issues, but it's the few, it's not the majority. So we can't get anywhere. We can't do anything. We're focused on the wrong thing. We're blinded by what Trump, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the first thing people like to say is Trump this, Trump that.
Do you think Trump is a problem? Because you're a young person. Do you think Trump is a problem?
He's a problem, but he's not my problem. If I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Explain that to us.
Okay. He is a problem as far as being a president of the United States, because I do not believe he is capable of being a president. But as far as me, as far as where I live, as far as the potholes that are in my street,
Let's not talk about potholes.
Okay.
Let's talk about selling dope.
Right.
And selling dope and selling guns. So Trump is an asshole.
Right.
But Ronald Reagan sold dope and guns to the countries. So can you name me a president that has not been corrupt? You might be in over your head, young lady. Let me go.
I might just say Teddy Rose.
Now they say Trump is he has an issue with women. He said grab him by the pee.
He did. He's disrespectful.
But Bill Clinton got his dick sucked.
He's disrespectful. But
no. He said grab him by the pee. But Bill Clinton got his dick sucked. Black people won't say nothing about him because Bill was just as black as us.
My dad loves Bill.
Bill said that was therapy for him.
Richard Nixon was a straight up criminal.
Right.
LBJ was a racist.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's nothing that Trump does on a daily basis that actually affects me.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I support him because I don't.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? But I mean, if they got a problem with Trump saying grab him by the pee, why they don't have a problem with Bill Clinton getting his dick sucked? We don't have a problem. You got a pimp and a hoe in the White House right now.
Right. The problem is that, and I honestly feel like Trump he's a funny man. He's a businessman. All of his antics are to distract us from what's really going on. I really don't care. I don't tune in to what he has to do. I'm worried about my mayor. We just had a mayor that was elected, and it showed that barely anybody in our city voted during the mayoral election. And it's like, where are y'all at?
I'm gonna tell you this here. A motherfucker scared to go to the polls in Chicago. They might get shot.
It's not that bad. It's not.
But here's the question. Because you've been in college. Were you in college when Obama was president?
Was I in college? 2016. No. That was my
Here's my question.
Okay.
Two of the most powerful black men in the world were residing in Chicago.
Okay.
Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yep.
Barack Obama.
Yep.
How in the fuck is that city out of that? How in the fuck is that city out of control? You have two of the most powerful black men in the city of Chicago,
right,
which ended up being a major hub for dope trafficking from the cartels. How does all that happen in that city with them two black men now? Or do they actually not control anything?
The school closures. When he during Obama brought, what people don't know, he brought Rahm Emanuel, who worked for him. Rahm Emanuel, I believe, was his right-hand man while he was in office or whatever. Rahm Emanuel was endorsed by Obama to be the mayor of the city of Chicago. He ran for 2 consecutive terms. And during his term, he closed over 100 Chicago public schools. Just last year, he recently closed one of the last high schools in Inglewood. I'm not sure if you all know about Inglewood, but it's like one of the most impoverished neighborhoods in the city of Chicago. And when all those schools closed, the crime skyrocketed. I know you all have seen in the news 2016, 2012, all the crime, all the shootings, all the murders, all the corruption with the Chicago Police Department. It stemmed from him. Chicago has always been corrupt, but it was just amazing to see that the president brought this man to the city, and this man broke the city down, dismantled the city. So, as
But
far as
Chicago has been out of control forever.
it's been out of control, but I can tell you one thing: it's getting right back in order. We, in my opinion, you talk about black elected officials. That's why I'm here right now. This state and city and state has done recently a good job of electing amazing black elected officials.
Now,
So
now, LJ DeLeon asked me,
okay,
did I vote for Obama?
okay.
Now let's see. Let's go back and remember, who did Obama run against?
Obama ran against Biden.
No, Biden ran
Not
with
Biden.
Obama.
I'm sorry.
Who did he run against the first time?
He was in the oh god, I can't remember his name. No, he was in the military, the war, he broke his arm. What is that man's name? White guy. Bald head. McCain.
He ran against McCain.
John McCain.
I felt Obama would not do anything for African Americans. The second time Obama ran, who did he run against? Hillary, right?
Yes.
I felt that after 4 years, Obama had done nothing for Black Americans. And then 4 years later, he still had not done anything. He ran against Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney. So here's my thing. No, I did not vote for him. I did not vote in those elections.
It was Mitt Romney.
I did not vote for Obama, and I did not vote in that presidential election.
Okay.
Because Brother Malcolm gonna tell you, why should I vote for the lesser of two evils? I shouldn't vote for anything that's evil.
Right.
But let me ask you this. What does not voting do?
I don't know, because I just sometimes I vote and sometimes I don't.
Because
I know what to do. I don't vote on that day. I eat food and I go to sleep and I wake up the next day.
I'm saying that we see, like I said, majority of Americans do not vote. Majority of Americans can't even tell you the Bill of Rights. So we see a history of what voting and what not voting has done recently in the past presidential elections. If we're talking about presidents, where has that got us? Even for President Trump to be in his position, he won off of the electoral college. He didn't win off the majority of the vote with Hillary Clinton.
But that's the way it's always been. Why was it a problem now?
It was a problem because why wasn't everybody voting? Do you understand what I'm saying? When they say your vote counts, it counts. You vote, your sister vote, your cousin vote. Hey, if everybody in the neighborhood voting, guess what? We're going to have a big turnout. But if we don't vote and we do not exercise our power.
Okay, well, I'll tell you this.
Okay.
You can see her sitting right there.
Okay.
Tell a mom whose son is facing 27 to life on a bullshit charge that he should not be in there on, should vote for the man that helped create mass incarceration.
All right. So let me tell you. I can't tell you who to vote for, but I'm going to tell you to use your constitutional right and vote. It's your right to vote.
So the other night I asked somebody about voting for somebody and it started an argument. So should she vote for Trump or should she vote for Biden?
Whoever you think will work in the best interest. So I'm assuming it's prison reform, criminal justice reform. Whomever of the two you think who will fight for that. I know right now, and I don't like Trump. I know he is for prison reform. I know that for a fact because he passed a law.
But hold on. I knew you were going to say that. But let me just say this really quick.
Okay.
If Trump is for prison reform, go back to the New York 5.
Okay. And his
because he
comments,
convicted them before they were even convicted, and they were children. I can't vote
okay,
for him.
you can't vote. I understand that completely. I understand that. But what has he done for the prison systems, right? What laws has he passed that would help someone like your son's situation as far as the mandatory or anything? I'm not even going to say mandatory sentencing. What has he done that could help that you know of? Or if you don't know, that's fine.
A quick answer, callers, and then I want to jump on that one.
Nothing. They
Okay.
talk a good game.
Okay. So Trump has done nothing, Alana, right?
Nothing. Neither one of them.
Okay, but
I don't think he's done
Trump
nothing.
has done nothing. Am I right, Alana?
That's not what I said.
Oh, what did you say, Alana?
Mandatory sentencing. He's taking out the mandatory sentencing, the mandatory minimum. I'm sorry, the mandatory minimum, where judges had to render a mandatory minimum. So if you got 50 years, you have to do a mandatory 25. He's taking that out. That's prison reform. So yeah.
When does it start? When does it start?
I think it's already been enacted. I'm not sure.
Now this is a question. How many people that have been sentenced? How long you think that's gonna take before it gets to everybody that's been wrongfully sentenced?
I can't think about that.
But I can.
You can't think about that. You have to put the work in. I have an aunt right now back in Texas who's doing federal time. I'm not sure if you all knew about Riverside Hospital in the city of Houston with the Gibsons. She was indicted in that case. We write every week to the Attorney General, the BOP, trying to get her on clemency, trying to get them to review her case, trying to get her out of there. You have to put in the work. It's not
So you think let me just ask you this,
okay.
okay? Because with my son's case, I'm the reason my son just went back to court, okay?
Okay.
And this is where we talk about prison reform. These
Okay.
police officers got rid of phone calls,
Okay.
okay? That could have changed the whole demeanor of my son's case. The charges would have been dropped.
Okay.
Had I not had phone records to prove the phone calls that they destroyed, it would have been a totally different story. So even though I walk in there with the evidence, okay, they still brush it off and send them back up to the courts. So now we sitting up in Supreme Court. It's been
Okay.
almost 8 years, Alana. I want you to know I'm not sitting back. I'm not doing anything. That's my son. Okay. So when you say do the work, I do the work. I go out in the streets. We video record. We follow people. This is what I do as a mother. I'm not an attorney, but I am a upstanding parent. Okay.
Okay.
My son got convicted at the age of 18.
Okay.
No prior charges. Never been in trouble. Ever. Graduated from high school. So when you say do the work, I do the work. And it's still a slap in the face.
That don't mean you give up. You
Oh,
cannot
I'm
give
never
up.
gonna give up.
You
Never.
can't give up.
That's not even an option.
Especially since now these same elected officials you all are talking about are now finally jumping on the bandwagon of criminal justice reform. Before that was not a discussion at the table. Nobody wants to free the criminals. Before they never talked about it. So now they are. That's why I said, are you
So now they are. So my
Yes.
question to you is,
Okay.
some of these politicians have been in office 30 years. What the fuck took them so long?
Set in their own ways. They don't want to do it. How are you going to ask somebody who's been comfortable sitting in their position, who hasn't had to move a pen, to do something? You're keeping the same person in the same position. It's just like the Supreme Court. You keep these people in these positions for years. They're comfortable. They don't have to do anything unless they want to, unless you call them for a favor, they know you, whatever. They don't have to do anything.
This is a question from me to you.
Okay.
If I wrongfully sent you to jail, would you trust me again?
Hell no.
No, probably not.
So why would you trust Biden?
I'm not trusting you. Who said anything about trust?
I
I'm not
just asked
trusting
you a
you.
question. I asked
No,
you if I wrongfully sent you to jail and gave you a massive amount of time. Would you trust me again?
never said I would trust you. Never said I had to trust you.
So
You
why
don't
would
have to.
why would we trust Biden to do the right thing?
Let's get clear. You don't trust any of them. Nobody's saying to trust them. But what I'm saying is use your power to vote. Even if
But
it
you
is
only
two
have two
people,
that you can vote for.
even if it is two people you don't give a damn for, vote for one of them. You might agree with one thing they might be going on, vote for one of them. What is
Hell no,
not
they liars. And
you can set
I'm
off.
sorry. This is just me, and maybe I'm set in my ways. But
That's
my grandmother told
absolutely
me first
fine.
time shame on you. Second time shame on me. Okay. And I think her name is Kathy Johnson. She said we have to have attorneys. Um we have to have lawyers to help us fight. I'm sorry, Kathy. I totally disagree. I got 3 cases going on right now, and I had to fire all attorneys because if somebody is gonna fight you better than you, they're not gonna do it. Everybody, especially attorneys, their thing is money. It's not about the case, especially if they know that they can go in, they can get something overturned, and they know all these people. We can make a phone call. Lawyers are not free. They're not doing pro bonos,
Some of them.
and the ones that are, you know.
Some of them.
So sometimes you have to bite the bullet, stand 10 toes down, and you got to go against them yourself. And that's where you get the real justice reform because they're not credible people out there. These people, it's all rubbing elbows and we kissing each other on the cheeks and all that. I don't give a damn about who you kissing. Because at the end of the day, my son been gone almost 8 years on some bullshit.
I tell y'all what, man, we gonna close this out. Give us your final thoughts, Alana.
So my final thoughts are vote. And I'm gonna say this again, vote. Do you really think they want us to vote? If they wanted us to vote, like I said, why isn't like jury duty that's mandatory? Why isn't voting mandatory? Why can't we vote online? Why are we still facing voter suppression? Because they don't want us to have a voice. So vote. Please vote. Please do your research on your state, local, and presidential candidates. All of them, and hold them accountable. That's all I'm gonna say.
Final thoughts, Carlos.
I done said all I'm going to say for tonight. Good night, y'all.
I'm gonna tell you like this here. I say you vote, and if you go to the polls and you don't like Biden and you don't like Trump, write somebody in. But don't just vote for Biden because you don't like Trump. That's my honest opinion. It's been a spirited discussion. As usual, we left it on the floor. I want to thank Alana Landhart for popping in.
Bye.
My new co-host, my pit bull in a skirt, Carlos Anderson. And I am the 5-star general. Tomorrow night, my good friend, Dr. Letitia Plummer, city councilwoman, live on the show with the 5-star general. It's going down, baby. I'll holler at y'all.